Hey y'all, it's your girl Barbie J here. Welcome to my channel, June BLC. What's up, everybody? It's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of Tyler Perry's comedy drama, Sisters, Season 9, Episode 8, Truth Is. And the truth is, this episode was okay, just okay. It wasn't all bad. I mean, I didn't care so much for the scenes with Zach and Fatima, the way Zach was behaving. I didn't care for the way that Rich was behaving. And I really wasn't feeling the scenes with Frank Givens and Sabrina in her apartment. I just was like, this is not really working for me. And it's not working for her either. But before we get started, if you're new here or if you're returning here and have not subscribed to this channel as of yet, please take a moment right now, hit that subscribe button, then hit the notification bell and select all. It'll let you know every time I upload any new content to this channel. Then I ask that you hit that like button, which is the thumbs up button, write a comment and join the conversation, and then share the video because sharing is caring and you want to help assist this channel grow. So the episode starts off with Rich seeing Sabrina with Frank Givens, and he come over there cussing, talking about what the F and all of this stuff, and get out of here, old guy, and Sabrina, what you think you doing, and all this nasty stuff, like he her man. He ain't. Sabrina dismisses him. Maurice and Paige teases him as he walks away in his Cosby sweater. And then Sabrina goes after Frank, runs into Andy, who lies about why she's there after hearing that Sabrina is out here trying to get a date, get a man, being hooked up by Maurice, and she's hearing about what happened with Rich and Penelope. She lets Andy know she didn't tell her about it because of all the stuff that was going on with Karen, and then that whole thing with Gary and the shooting. Andy tells her she's there to pick up some food and then she's going back to the office, but that's not the truth. Plus, she lied to Danny and Karen, saying that she had an important meeting to go to, and that's why she was there. Well, I guess it is going to be important to her after we find out the reason she's really setting up to meet with Dr. Vaughn. And what's funny is Andy reminds Sabrina that she not made for the streets, and I laughed about that. I said, neither are you really, Andy. But then she tells Sabrina, don't do anything she wouldn't do. And Sabrina's like, what? And she said, oh, I do everything. And I said, I'm about to tell her if she said anything other than that, because Andy do everything. So Sabrina did introduce Frank to Andy, and then he goes to get the car. Sabrina and Andy chat for a little bit more, and then she runs out to meet Frank, and Andy goes to meet Dr. Vaughn. Maurice turns around and sees her and said, I tell you, she know how to meet a man. I bet you she got a man up in here or something like that. He's telling Paige. And sure enough, he takes a picture of Dr. Vaughn and Andy. He's talking about, I can't wait to send it to Sabrina. So you know what's going to happen. She going to get busted lying to Sabrina. But I got to say now, once again, that Maurice and Paige were the comic relief in this episode. They were really great. I enjoyed their scenes all the entire time. The only scene that didn't make sense to me was Pam walking in. Can somebody tell me what was the purpose of Pam coming in there? What was the purpose of that scene? It truly made no sense to me. So next we see Karen and Aaron in the bed sleeping, and baby Faith starts crying. Karen doesn't move. She don't budge. The bassinet and the baby are right there by her, but she doesn't move. So Aaron gets up to get the baby, and she's telling him to go out to the living room, stop so she wouldn't cry. He said, I'm trying to calm her down. Okay, but get her, go in the living room and stuff. And she putting a pillow over her head. She don't want to hear the noise. I was like, wow. But later on, Aaron came back in there in the room after he calmed Faith down and put her back to sleep. And he told Karen how he feels about it. He was like, that is our child. She's not the baby. She has a name. And she's like, I know that. She said, I just can't deal with it right now. I can't have no more mistakes happen again or something like that. And he keeps telling her what happened in that hospital was not your fault. And so Karen is really still dealing with this. I thought it was another reason, and I'm glad that they're showing us it's not that reason. I was thinking she didn't want to have anything with the baby. because it wasn't Zach's baby and she lost Zach's baby. You know, I was just like, is that still in her head? I hope not. But he told her, we got to work through this together with me, you, and Faith. We are a family. So I hope that works out for her. Now we have a scene with Danny coming home and Tony is laying on her couch. He ain't did nothing all day. She's like, did you look for a job? Did you do this and all this stuff? And she's like, really, dude? You know, what are you doing? I can't understand this. He quits his job and then he moves in with Danny. Make it make sense, somebody. This man was making a six-figure salary. He should have had money saved up. There's no reason for him to be living with Danny. He has his own house. He could have gone at least 3 months in that house paying his mortgage or whatever. I don't know if it's a house or apartment before having to move in with Danny. Why did the writers do this? Somebody put it down in the comment section. I'm telling you, it makes no sense to me at all. And so she's like, let me see what's for dinner. He said, yeah, what you gonna cook? She said, I know you crazy. She said, I'm not gonna come home from work and then have to rustle up something for us to eat and you've been home all day doing nothing. He's like, oh, I could get dinner then. Like, what he gonna do? He gonna dial and order some food, wasting money. I don't understand. That's trifling right there. You decide to leave and now you're my problem? Dude, grow up. Then we have Andy sitting there on her date with Dr. Vaughn. And they're talking and they're chatting and they're getting to know each other. And then Dr. Vaughn suggests they play this game called Two Truths and a Lie. And she was like, I'm not going to play it, but they did that. So as they're going on, it seems like they're getting along. All they are is drinking wine. She never got a meal out of this. And she did ask, should she pay for half of the bill? He said, no. He said, I'm still a man. You know what I mean? Meaning men should pay for the meal, but there's no meal, it's just a drink. Anywho, then Andy mentions about she's the lawsuit and that she's going to sue the hospital and she needs his help. And this man is like, are you kidding me? You loosen me up and get me all out here just to do this? Is this what it was for? And she was like, look, it's more than that. Black and brown women have been losing their life, da da da. He said, I understand. He said, but he was basically saying it's bigger than me. He said he would like to not lose his career in the process of trying to help her with this. And he said, it's bigger than just even him. It's the whole system or something like that. And Andy's like, that's why it's so important. I need your help. He said, you're just not going to give up on this. She said, I can't, and I understand. Karen did say she didn't want Andy to do anything on her behalf, but to sit back and know if you have the power to do something and you just sit back and watch as our people, as our women just get killed by this doctor, then there's something wrong with you. To me, in my point of view, there's something wrong with you. You have to get involved. You can't always be scared. Sometimes it takes one person to get into some good trouble. You know what I mean? Good trouble. Anywho, now back to Billy Jake's. I think that's what the name of the place is. And Maurice and Paige are talking. And Maurice is like, okay, I blocked Grayson off of everything. It seems that Grayson broke up with him via text, talking about he's just too much or something like that. And I was like, we all remember that Grayson chased after Maurice and wanted to be with him. And Maurice was still doing that sexual thing on the phone, which they haven't mentioned this episode. So I wonder if he's still doing it or not. Anywho, Paige lets Maurice know that her brother Dylan is so cool and she gonna have him meet them there at Billy Jake's. He could use some companionship. She'd love for him to, Maurice to meet him. And Maurice is like, oh, no, no, no. I done met my white quota for the year. I don't need no more white friends up in my face, whatever it is. And she's like, no, no, he's really cool. I'm telling you. He's like, if he does this, this, and this, I am gonna, Maurice was acting silly. So I was like, I told y'all, they were the comedy relief. So anywho, Dylan comes in and Maurice is like, what the what? He's like, hey, sis, you shaved your mustache. She said anything for you? I was like, oh, my God, they are funny. But Maurice was just smitten or something like with Dylan. And they both were just giving each other the googly eyes. So anyway, it was funny when Dylan said Maurice strikes him to be somebody on stage, lighting it up. And Maurice is like, oh, I hear that all the time. I'm sorry. And he says, there was this time I was supposed to perform with Beyonce, but Blue Ivy looked better in the costume than I did. And Paige is like, I didn't know you knew Queen Bey. He said, oh, yeah. He said, we go way back. I know her cousin. So y'all know who her cousin is. Pam is Beyonce's cousin in real life. Okay, in real life. So I was cracking up when they put that in. But Paige also said something that triggered something. She said to her brother, "Oh yeah, we're like work besties. You could basically write a sitcom about us, something like that." So I said, "Wait a minute now, y'all. Is Tyler Perry thinking about doing a sitcom between the Paige and Maurice, because they surely are. Their energy playing off of each other. I think they were great together. I'm glad they have Paige as this person now versus what she was before. What do y'all think? Put it down in the comment section for me. Next, we had the scene with Sabrina coming home with Frank. And I'm like, didn't Paige tell her not to bring people home? Didn't she learn from what Danny went through or what Maurice went through? It's like, use your brain, Sabrina. But anyway, she got him in the bed. He can't get it up. Frank can't get it up. She asks her Novi device. It's supposed to be like Alexa, and she's like, Novi, how do you do this in Novi? He said, no, you're not asking that device how to get me hard. And he said, it's disrespectful. She said, well, something got to help it. He was trying to get her to go down and give him head. She's like, this ain't no group thing. You get it done yourself. Use your hand or whatever. So it didn't work out with him. He ended up getting out of bed and running into the living room. And Nova says, should I add some erectile dysfunction pills to your cart or something like that? It was just so funny. I was like, oh my gosh, it was just so funny. So anyway, one of the last scenes of the show is with Zach and Fatima. I haven't spoken about them at all. And mainly that's because I didn't like how Zach was behaving the whole episode. Fatima's trying to talk to him. She comes home and she's sharing about her day, asking him how he's feeling. And he's just like moping around, don't want to say anything. And when she's telling about her day, he just looking at her, don't want to say anything. She's like, what? You're not even listening to me. And he's like, I went to see Karen today. And she's like, oh my God. It's like, what happened? What did she say? And he told what she was like a zombie and the baby crying and all this stuff. And she tried to, get him to talk about it. All of a sudden, I don't want to talk about it no more, really. And she was like, well, damn. So she's like, Fatima goes through all these steps to try to make him feel better. She's like rubbing his head. She cooks him food. She does all these different things. She sit on him like she gonna ride him and give him some sex. She's just trying to do anything to cheer him up. And he's moping around like he don't want to be bothered. And he don't want to hear about her day, nothing. And then she put the Bible on him and said, this is where we should have started. And he just held her. But so now they just sitting around watching TV and the doorbell rings. And she's like, are you expecting someone? And he said, oh, I was going to tell you, but don't worry about it. All of a sudden, his whole behavior changed. All of a sudden, he's very alert. He's aware. He's in tune with everything that's going on now. Now he got a smile on his face. He's engaged now. I'm like, what is happening here? And he opens the door into some lady, Heaven. She's a midwife and she's here for consultation. Fatima, like, she here for who? She's saying, you should have talked to me about it. She needs to leave. And, it was this whole big thing. And Zach was like, well, she's just a consultation. But see, with them, with Fatima not knowing about her coming, and then you standing there and she going back and forth with her fiance, wouldn't you have wanted to leave? I would have left at that point. I was like, call me when you're ready. But she's like, oh no, Heaven's just trying to talk. It's up to me to give you the different options and all this stuff, the water birth, the home birth, the this birth. And Zach is like, yeah, we could do that or something like that. And she was like, no, I'm going to have a hospital birth with a black doctor that I trust and an epidural. I was like, I know that's right. I know that's right. I don't know what Zach was thinking. It was crazy. She's like, Zach, we're going to talk about this later. And he's like looking at her like he didn't do nothing wrong. Yes, you did. Boy, this is her body. Don't forget, it's her body. Oh, no, we're not doing that. We did that hospital thing before. We're not doing it. No, we did not. That was Karen who did it. It wasn't Fatima. So it's not we did this before. Let's get that straight, Zach. So when Heaven leaves, Fatima goes upstairs and walks away, leaves Zach down there. And later on, she comes down talking about she needs to call somebody. She needs somebody to talk to. So she calls Danny and she asks her how Zach was acting when she met him and talked to him, the other day. And Danny tells her, and she said, what did my friend do this time? What did he do? And Fatima tells her about the midwife and the water birth and all this stuff. She said, oh my God, he's bugging out. She said, everybody's talking about Zach and Karen, but how are you doing? She said, you've been putting up with a lot lately dealing with Zach and his drama. And Fatima says she's trying to suppress her negativity. And Danny's like, why does black women always have to suppress our emotions? She's like, it's not healthy. You need to let it out. And that's when all of a sudden Fatima says, you know what, can I be honest with you? And she gets, I guess, what's some major stuff off of her chest when she tells her that she feels like crap for even thinking this and saying it out loud. But she hates that Karen lost the baby. But a part of her was relieved when the stillborn was Zach's. And at that moment, Zach had come halfway down the steps and heard it. And Fatima turned around after he had turned and walked back upstairs. But you know what? Zach didn't hear the whole thing that she said. But it is a relief sometimes because she would have been dealing with years, months and years of Karen wanting Zach's attention and all of this stuff. And Zach have to be splitting his time between her and then their baby and all of this stuff. So that's what would have been happening. But that's how the episode ended. Y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all thought about this episode. And I will see y'all all in the next video. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. It's your girl, Barbie J, saying peace.